World 2025 predictions. So, what's in store for 2025? Before we get into the list of predictions I have, let's just pull three cards to kind of see what's the overall energy that's going to be coming forward in 2025. So, just giving us three cards for the energies. So, we get the Five of Cups that's popped out of the deck. It's just kind of that feeling of apathy, sluggishness, like things are lost. I think that is going to refer more to the beginning of 2025. Um, then we get the Four of, I'm sorry, not the Four, the Knight of Wands. Could be, some fiery messages, ones that maybe cause us to celebrate a little bit. I think that goes along with what I'm kind of seeing. Let's see, can we get one more card? I think this is the one. Yeah, we get the Ten of Cups. This is about families and celebrations. I think the first part of the year is going to start out kind of dark. I think some major news events are going to happen that's maybe going to turn things around. And I think there's also going to be some major events that make us focus on our families, our friends, whatever your definition of family is. That can definitely be very different and doesn't need to be uh, blood family. Okay, so let's start off with some of the world events that I see. Uh, so let's first start with Russia and Ukraine. Uh, I think the war is going to sort of start to slow down, but there's going to be some events that are a little bit disturbing throughout the year, and there's still going to be bombings. Uh, I particularly see a lot of bombings on Russian soil. This could be Ukraine running some operations to, kill some generals like we've seen in the past. This could also be a little bit. I get kind of the image that it might be the people from within Russia just getting really tired of the stuff that's going on, and but whatever it is, Putin is going to call it terrorism. And we need to be careful with that word because that is a word that Donald Trump will pick up on and also use. Um, so uh, Trump is going to try to get Ukraine and Russia to reach a compromise that changes borders. Uh, this will be at odds with what Europe wants. So it's going to take a while to work out exactly how this is going to end. I don't necessarily know that it ends in 2025, but the beginning of the end should start in 2025. And the reason is going to be economic. Um, the war will start to, what's what I've written, the war will start to wind down because of economic strife in Russia. There's going to be some food shortages, and the people of Russia are going to be more vocally opposed to Putin, which of course is a serious risk for them to do. But they're going to be in an untenable situation where they can't really afford the day-to-day needs that are required for life. So that's how I see the Russia and Ukraine war going on. The war in Israel with Palestine and I think is going to expand to parts of Syria to try to gain more territory in Syria. That war will wind down as well. And for similar reasons, there's going to be some, food shortages, some economic strife. Um, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Israel because of humanitarian crises. Um, and there might perhaps even be a leadership change in Israel towards the end of 2025, not in the beginning, but towards the end of 2025, we might see a leadership change. Um, Israel is going to start securing their parts of Israel that they have captured by building military bases and perhaps even a few settlements there. Uh, this will come with some worldwide condemnation, but it will be ignored, and nothing will happen. And then to complicate matters, when I was doing my scrying and getting ready for these predictions, I saw a number of suicide bombings happening in Syria, in Palestine, and in Israel, attacking Israelis. But the bombers weren't Palestinian nor Syrian or Lebanese. They were from outside groups, like one sponsored by Iran, maybe even one sponsored by Al Qaeda. Um, and that's just going to be to try to create chaos. And uh, so I don't know exactly how that fits in with the war, but I think it makes the war maybe go on longer, and Israel will try to use it as justification for what they're doing. Also on the world stage, I see North Korea relaunching mission, not relaunching, but launching missiles again towards Japan, not at Japan, but just towards Japan, like they were doing before. Um, and then I did get kind of a really searing image, and I don't want to scare anybody, but and I'm not sure where this takes place, but I believe it's somewhere in Europe, probably France or Germany is kind of the pools that I was getting, but geography is not exactly easy unless you're specifically asking about it. Um, of there being a fairly big terrorist attack. Um, so let's hope that that's wrong. Um, India and Pakistan will also have a bunch of tension build up. Um, they're always a little bit tense as it is. But this will mostly come to rise because of Hindu attacks on Muslims and Muslim attacks on Hindus. And I think that mostly takes place in India, but India blames Pakistan for these things happening, even though that's probably not accurate. That was the sense I got. Okay, so uh, let's just pull a few oracle cards on what it is we need to know when these kind of scary world events happen. So this is the Angels and Ancestors Oracle. So show us three cards to guide us on how we should react to these events that are really quite out of our control. So three cards, how we should react to these events that are out of our control. Let's see what the cards say. We get the Oracle card. I think this is good stuff. At the bottom of the card, it says, wait for important information. So let's not jump to conclusions if something horrific happens on who's to blame for it. I think it will be shrouded in a lot of mystery in the beginning, and there'll be forces that want to blame it on people that are not responsible. I think that's what that's saying. And I think that's kind of what I was getting across earlier. Um, we get the Hunter card. It says track down your fears and desires. Um, try to separate. Um, fears that you can do something about and fears that you can't. And also keep a positive mindset on what it is you desire. Try to manifest positive energy for the world. That's kind of what I'm getting there. Yeah, and I think this goes along with the idea of manifest. This is the trader card. Um, it says exchange energy to create abundance. So can do this in various ways. If you're somebody who likes to donate to charities, I think this fits into that bill. But it also just fits into the bill of meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call that, in your sphere of energy, um, to kind of bring about something that's more to our liking. So it's going to be a little bit crazy on the world stage, as it already is, but I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But I do think towards the end of 2025, we will find that these things are starting to improve. The wars that is in Israel and in um, Russia and Ukraine. Okay, so weather-wise, I got a couple big images here, and again, geography is a little bit tricky, but the image I had was basically of a map, and it went from Japan westward to, about halfway through India and then down through Indonesia, maybe to the tip of northern Australia. And I saw a sizable earthquake and a a following tsunami. I don't think this is anything that's going to be super destructive by any stretch of the imagination compared to how bad these things can be. But I think it is something that we need to keep mindful of, if especially for traveling. I also saw another earthquake in kind of the Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan kind of area north of India. Um, and I think that might be a problem. And then in the state of Alaska, I don't think this is a big earthquake, but I saw an earthquake and I had the sense that it damages the Alaska pipeline and there might be some oil spills. And as a result of this, I think there might be some environmental protests about exactly how things are going with respect to that, the drilling of oil, that is. Hurricanes. I didn't see any more hurricanes than typical, but I did see one that was of particular devastation. And to me, this felt like it was more in the Caribbean islands than on the mainland US. And of course, hurricanes on those islands can be quite devastating. Um, they don't happen super often, so let's hope we're wrong about that one as well. And then lastly, on weather, I saw uh, the summer and late summer into the later parts of September is going to be very hot in a lot of places, and there's going to be a number of deadly heat waves throughout the summer and early fall. Um, these are going to mostly be focused in parts of the United States and parts of Europe, and particularly like North Italy, the places that are a little bit away from the Mediterranean Sea to the north, possibly even up to Germany and Austria. And then also, I feel like there's going to be a deadly heat wave. I don't know that it'll get reported just because of the way our media is so biased and the way it treats parts of the world. But in the kind of Central South American regions of Paraguay, parts of Brazil, parts of Argentina, but mostly I got the country of Paraguay. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Again, I think it's being cognizant of these things if you're going to be traveling, or if you live there, check the weather, see what's going on, make preparations for that. Because I saw a lot of hoarding of fans, window air conditioners, these types of things where people were just stocking up on them, not because they needed them, but because they were going to try to turn a profit later. So I think there's going to be quite a bit of greed as well with respect to not just the heat waves, but with respect to the hurricanes and the earthquakes. So um, it's kind of like during the beginning of COVID when groups of people in the United States bought up the toilet paper and then were trying to sell it for a profit. That's kind of the sense that I got um, there. Economy wise, let's pull a few cards on the economy to see what we need to know. Um, so give us three cards on what we need to know about the global economy. Give us three cards on what we need to know about the global economy. Three cards, the global economy. What do we need to know about the global economy? I could see a lot of ups and downs in the stock market and the price of things. Let's see what the cards maybe might be able to elaborate on. So we get the lovers card. So this is about partnerships, perhaps unhealthy partnerships, perhaps needing to do business with people we don't want to do business with because they're the only ones that have a certain item that we want. There's definitely going to be a lot of worry about money. And, but the way to get through this is with circles of support. Um, you know, being willing to help thy neighbor, but also being willing to accept help if needed. Um, if you're having food insecurity, don't be embarrassed to use the food pantries. That's why they're there. And if you have a little bit of extra, maybe donating to some food pantries would be a good idea. Um, I do see, and that is the first thing I have on the list is there's going to be some food shortages. Now, what the food shortages relate to is, and I think this will be in parts of the United States. I'm going to talk about the United States separately, but um, a lot of this is going to have to do with the Russian-Ukrainian war. So I think there will be quite a bit of famine in parts of Africa and stuff that depend upon Ukrainian grain, because I don't think the grain is going to get harvested. Uh, inflation, inflation isn't going anywhere. I don't think that it's going to be getting worse, but I don't think that it's also going to be improving. I think it's going to stay right around that 2.5 to 3% range. So, something that costs uh, $5 is going to start costing about like $5.15. But all those little items add up, right? So it's gonna be there. Now, if you play in the cryptocurrency space, I see a huge um a piece of fraud being exposed, whether this is people that are buying up crypto and then selling a lot of it as soon as the price goes up, or it could be people stealing crypto. And so I think the price of Bitcoin, Solana came up. Um, I think there's going to be a lot of big crashes. I'm not saying that it won't regain its value because I think it will, but there's going to be these sudden, 20 to 30% drops within a week in value. And it'll have to deal with the fact that these assets can't be stored securely yet. There's going to be a lot of worry about whether these things will be stored securely. I don't personally know much about crypto, but I would imagine there's going to be, from the images I was seeing, there's going to be some people being arrested that are in pretty high positions in companies that job it is to store the crypto for others. Like I said, I think the stock market's going to be like a roller coaster. I don't think at the end of the year it's going to be dramatically down. I also don't think it's going to be particularly way up. It might end up, I think at the end, I saw it ending up, but modestly. Nothing that is going to be super, super great or super bad with respect to that. Commodity prices are going to be very swingy. This is going to be weather related. So, um, expect the price of, things like grain and things that are made with grain, rice, um, avocados, orange juice, meats such as beef in particular, and chicken and eggs. Those are going to be really up and down. And this is going to be worldwide as well as in the United States as well. Um, so uh, if you have the means, I'm not saying go out and hoard, but it might not be a bad idea to have a couple weeks worth of food on hand so that you can navigate these swings without spending more money than necessary. Um, so that's how I see the economy playing out. Not great, not horrible. Kind of, there will be parts that are bad, parts that are okay. I don't think anybody's going to be jumping up and down and screaming, "Oh, the economy's great." I don't see that. Okay, moving on to the last big topic that I have. This is consequential people. So I saw the image of uh, a new pope. I think we will have a new pope this probably towards the later end of 2025, possibly into 2026. I think the timing's a little clear. But I think the bigger thing of note here is the pope was a person of color. Uh, it looked to be an individual who was either of African or Asian descent, but rather dark in complexion if they are of Asian descent. So take that as you will. I also saw Princess Kate becoming a huge fundraising pool for cancer research. I'm not exactly sure what that means. So, but I see a lot of money being raised for cancer research because of Princess Kate. Um, and then lastly, if you're somebody that struggles with suicidal thoughts, please use the suicide hotlines. But I see a very public suicide. The suicide is intentional and to garner um, attention on on some issues. I'm not exactly sure what those issues are, but it is something that the world will be talking about for several weeks, if not more. Uh, uh, Try not to manifest this into reality, and I'll try not to manifest this into reality, and hopefully I'm just wrong. Um, but I see that happening. So, um, and like I said, I can't quite place it geographically. I don't think it's in the United States. I think it could be in Europe, but I don't think that's quite right either. Could possibly be in Russia. Uh, but it's something that's going to shake the world. It's something that's going to draw a lot of attention. Okay, so those are the world predictions. I'll have a separate video for the United States predictions, which will probably be slightly shorter than this one. But before we go, let's pull some animal oracle cards. Now, I use these to serve as kind of omens. So, like when I see the animals listed on these cards, I think back to things that have concerned me. It's not that I necessarily change the way I act. It's just that I might think, okay, I need to be cognizant of what the weather's going to be like. Or um, do I really want to take a cruise in late August? You know. So let's see what animals come up and what the messages are behind those. So this is the animal spirit oracle cards. So let's see what we get. We'll pull 3 or 4 cards and what messages they have. So, yeah, this is exactly what I was trying to convey, and the cards do it better. The hawk spirit, let spirit be your guide. Um, so be guided by that intuition that you have. If something doesn't feel right, don't do it. If something feels like a really exciting opportunity and all your intuition is a go, go for it. I think that's what that's saying. Um, we get the giraffe spirit, see the bigger picture. Um, Remember, not one event necessarily defines our entire existence, but at the time of that event, it can seem so. Especially if you've gone through periods of grief because of loss in family, those events can seem like they are almost the things that define us. But see the bigger picture. They're not necessarily, they're defining, but they're not necessarily the only thing that defines us. Um, we get wolf spirit, and this I think gets to what I was saying too. Turn knowledge into wisdom. Use that intuition, but also use the things that you know to navigate through the world over the next year. And frog spirit, this is a good one. Clear out the clutter. So if you're one of these people like I am, where when bad things happen, the brain just keeps circling and circling and circling, um, try to find some practices to maybe stop that. So meditation is something that works for me, but whatever works for you. And then also, if you happen to see a hawk, a giraffe, a wolf, or a frog in nature in an unexpected place, obviously not like at a zoo, but in an unexpected place, think back on this reading and ask yourself, um, am I doing anything that fits into these parts that could be somewhat dangerous? Like, am I running low on food, for example? Am I Uh, and not because I can't afford food, but running low on food because I just haven't gone grocery shopping. Um, or am I planning a trip to South America in the middle of the summer? Maybe might want to rethink that. So anyhow, I hope that helps. I hope everybody has a great 2025, and I will have the U.S. predictions here in just a few days.